So I gotta say, that 6v6 was definitely pretty spicy. I mean, not only did it go in a direction I wasn't quite expecting, because at this point, whenever Suletta gets in a duel, I kind of just assume, well, she'll end up winning, because that seems to be the formula up to the point, before shit will hit the fan and break and characters actually end up dying. But instead of just going with that direction, they actually let her by herself, rather than just simply having Ariel do everything. Like, this, to see her go into control, and then the fact that she didn't even get the winning blow, the fact that Choo Choo and the gang came in clutch to snipe the actual spot they need to. It's not even about overpowering all the bots, right? You don't have to defeat every Gundam in that match. You just have to get the captain. You gotta get that one precise shot. And to see them win and to just casually drop the bombshell that Shidiki seems to have some feelings for Mirin, and you know, the fact that they start the episode with him saying like, I would never try to like duel for your hand, you know, I'm different than everyone else. The dude literally has a living and breathing harem that worships the ground he walks on, but seemingly that's not what he wants. He wanted our girl Mirin, and very similar to his father in terms of political sabotage and manipulation, he only knew one way to get what he wanted, and that way was not what she wanted, and he definitely learned a hard lesson this week, that's for sure. Now, there's full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested, of course, but let's talk about this one, because I would argue this was probably the most interesting Gundam match to date. Not to say the prior ones were bad or they were lackluster. I think they're all great in their own way, but there was something about the 6v6 format which, honestly, when you kind of look and comprehend the whole gun format that Suletta and Ariel kind of work with, it's probably more than just one, 6v6. It's like a 6v12 or 14 because of the multiple voices and having that 360 kind of degree having to indicate everything that you're experiencing. It's kind of nutty to say the least, but it was interesting because it very much felt one-sided for most of the match. I mean, you start off with a 6v6, and within a couple of minutes, like 3 or 4 of them are already eliminated. I was totally expecting Guel would be like the saving grace. Honestly, when the phone call popped up, I'm not sure if I'm the only one feeling this. When the dad called Guel, I was like, oh shit, there's probably some reason why he'll want Guel to fight in this match, and they're gonna find a way to do an emergency supply drop or something. Instead, no, he's like, yeah, you're out of here. We got another thing lined up for you. Just trust me. It was actually a little disappointing, but it makes sense, obviously, why he didn't fight in the match. It's just like we're building up to the moment where Guel really gets his redemption arc and gets to do what he wants. And I think episodes like these make it crystal clear that it's just a matter of time before all the students rebel against their parents. And honestly, just to see shit hit the fan, most likely in the second core, when we do get that in spring, of course. But it was fun because it was just a constant beat down, but then the way they kind of pull back, and the fact that instead of just letting someone like Suletta overpower, because you can see that she's incredibly impressive even on her own or working completely alongside Ariel, the fact of the matter was, like, her leg got obliterated. In that moment, had the snipe not come, it's not guaranteed she still would have won. Is it impossible? No, but it's entirely likely that someone like Shidiki would have ended up winning there. But the fact that it was more of a team effort rather than a simple one-sided, here's the OP character as usual, I mean, it was really nice seeing Earth House really get that W in an earned victory rather than just simply, oh, it was luck, or it's, oh, because you have the main character on your team sort of a thing. It really just made a kind of bring a grin to your face, and to see Prosper of all characters shed a tear when she saw someone like Suletta do everything she was doing. It seemed to me the reason the tear was there was that she fully believed that she was ready, that she would be safe, and that she could really trust that both Suletta and Ariel together could survive these horrible encounters, and most likely not suffer a similar fate to that of the father in episode 0, when the happy birthday song was sung, and obviously we saw basically a suicide run, right? The dad basically gave his life to protect them, where most likely if Suletta was now put in a situation like that, she would actually be able to come home. That to me is why the tear was there. Of course, I could be mistaken, only time will tell, but that seems to be my gut impression of why the tear was there, because when you really compare that fight to the episode 0 fight, it's actually quite similar in terms of numbers and impossible odds, and the fact that Suletta came out as strong as she did very much looks like she won't suffer a similar fate to her dad, or at least at face glance, though obviously this is Gundam, we always expect the worst, or we should, unless you want to just enjoy the pain ride as unexpected as possible. And just to see like the build-up and everything, I quite liked it because it felt like, the whole reason of the manipulation, like Shidiki never gave me the impression he was an evil character. He was a very manipulative character. but he's not an evil scumbag, right? It was just a matter of, based on the little glimpses we've heard of the phone calls with him and his dad, you're obviously influenced by how you're raised, and it just feels like these kids they know one way of doing things. And for someone like this, who is obviously quite a ladies' man and does quite well for himself, the thing that he actually wants, he clearly doesn't know how to interact with quite well. And the fact that he has this plan to use this technology for weapons, I mean, he knows what he wants and he'll do whatever it takes to get there. He's not trying to kill Mireen or put her in front of a train or something and say, give it. Just more so, I offered you a chance, you denied it, I'm going to manipulate your hand. Mireen calls him out on it, and then the duel happens. And it makes sense on why characters are doing certain things. And obviously, actions can infuriate you, but it's actually quite well written in terms of how they're progressing to these natural plot points. And for being now 9 episodes into The Witch from Mercury, I think they've done a pretty good job at essentially being a setup core, all things considered. And for a while I've been saying Core 1 will most likely be the setup getting us to know the characters, where personal motivations lie, which we've done a pretty good job at seeing different characters from. Mireen wanting to escape from this hell-forsaken planet. You have someone like Soletta just trying to go through that bucket list, but obviously being manipulated along the way. And just to see characters like even Guel as an example in terms of what he wants. This is about getting us established with the students and also their parent adult counterparts, with Core 2 coming around, really probably starting to shatter and break expectations, plans, formations, and that's when wars typically start breaking out in those ways, because, you know, it doesn't stay sunshine and rainbows from a school perspective forever. It's just a matter of time before the pin drops and all-out war does break out. I mean, I still highly suspect a time skip at some point. I don't necessarily expect it in Core 2. Still betting on the fact that this will be a 50 episode total production, and second batch, of course, is most likely where that type of stuff would pop up, but only time will tell. In terms of being a visually impressive episode, I think they did quite well. There's actually some fun maneuvers, like at one point, I think it was right after our girl kind of takes control, there's like this circle that kind of goes around everyone, and the way they detailed it, to then even the way they were kind of circling around her. At one point, it kind of looked like multiple black holes were exploding around her, which pretty much disabled everything in her artillery. And just to see like the fast-paced nature and the fact that with a 6v6, you think it's pretty even. Obviously, we knew it wasn't from the beginning just because of who they had for pilots. They had to basically pick whoever offered, more or less, and unfortunately, Guel wasn't there. It was nice to see how quickly that 6v6 could like become a 6v2 to a 6v1 seemingly, and just how quickly like shit just gets overpowered. And the fact that prior to the match even starting, they go down the list of the harem members and basically like they're all just so popular. Obviously one's more popular than others, but still, like at face value, this man's eating good from the general public's perspective, but as we see it by the end, the person he wants, he can't get. And I like the fact that in this episode too, our girl Soletta basically like says, bitch, please, I believe in my bride will do well, and I thought that was pretty fantastic. But of course, as always, I pass the torch over to you. What did you think of this episode, this 6v6 duel? What was your favorite part? Do let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. You can also consider supporting the Patreon. Full live reaction, like I mentioned, is available, and you can also get video shoutouts like a few we're about to get here. So we got Hugh Nguyen, I'm Jake, by the way, and Jim Solo. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.